Welcome back everyone to another video, and in this video we'll be discussing about loops in Python. This is very important because it will help you save some development time and effort while you're coding some repetitive tasks. But why is it important? Suppose we are in 2050 and we have a robot in a house. Instead of saying clean a room or pick up the books over and over again, you just tell the robot once that do this task unless and until the job is done. That's the power of loops. They help us repeat tasks without repeating ourselves. Now we'll be starting with for loops. The thing about for loops is when you use a for loop when you know how many times a loop will repeat itself. For example, we'll be using a fruit counting system. Imagine you have a certain variety of fruits and that is stored in a list, and you want to distribute these fruits to your friends. So what you'll be doing there is you use a for loop through it. So first you have to create an item variable. For in this case it's the fruit variable. Then you use the in keyword to connect the item variable to the iterable variable. Now the iterable variable is nothing but a type, you can say, that can be looped through. That is the meaning of iterable. So you'll be learning it later. So with this, and you just need to print it, and it will be printing it unless and until the list is finished, like you have looped through the entire list, and then it will stop. Now let's see how we can use the control statement inside a loop. Suppose we have a bunch of, let's say, socks which are colored, and we stored this colored socks in a list, and then we use a for loop to loop through it. Now we have two conditions. The first condition is if we see that the color of the socks is blue, we can just skip that statement, right? And if we see that the color of the socks is red, we just stop the loop at that point and we don't proceed further. Okay, so even if there are certain values after red, we are stopping at red. Okay, so that's the importance of the continue statement and the break statement, which you are seeing over in this video. Now we'll see how we can use the range function with a for loop. The range function takes three variables. The first one is the beginning variable, which takes the starting of the function or starting of a range. The second one is the ending variable, the number which it will end. And the third one is a step variable. Suppose you want to create a range from, let's say, 0 to 9, including 0 and including 9. What you can do is you first include the beginning variable as 0, the ending variable as 10 instead of 9, because in the case of the ending variable it will exclude it and it will include the number before the ending variable. So instead of 9, if we put 10, it will include the value 9. And last is the step variable. The step variable is used if you want to jump certain numbers. You can use the step variable. For example, if you want to create a loop like for number in range, and then we start the range function from 2, we end the range function at 11, and we want to jump by 2 places, so we set this step variable as 2, and then we can print it. Now there are certain other iterables you can use instead of a list, like you can use a string, you can use a dictionary, you can use a tuple, you can't use an integer like that. For that you have to use the range function. So let's say you have a string, you can use a counter variable or item variable and just loop through it, or you can also have a dictionary and you can just loop through it using the item variable and just loop through it as we have done in the earlier parts. Now, while loops in Python is a bit different. The main purpose of using a while loop is to run or repeat a task even if we don't know how many times it should repeat. Let's understand this with the help of certain examples. Suppose we have a cookie jar and we eat one cookie at a time until the jar is empty. Let's create a cookies variable and initialize it to 3. This is how we tell Python how many cookies we have at the start. Then we use a while loop. We first use the while keyword and then assign a condition to it. After that, we may print what we want to display on the screen. Then we decrease the value of cookies by 1 because this is our condition. Now let's take another example which is a bit different from the previous ones. In this example, we don't know how many times a loop should run. So what is happening is, let's say we have a while loop and we set the condition to just to the true boolean value. Now this means that to run the loop unless and until the condition is false. Then we take a word as input. If the word is equals to please, then break the statement. Otherwise, you just print try again. And this will continue unless and until the user types the word please. This is an example of using a while loop when we don't know how many times a loop should run, or it depends upon the user. In Python, we have an else statement for a for loop and a while loop. The reason to use an else statement is to execute a block of code only if the loop completes all of its iterations without encountering a break statement. So suppose you have a for loop and in the middle of it encounters a break statement. So even if you use the else statement, it will not execute. However, if you use a for loop and it doesn't encounter a break statement, or maybe it doesn't execute the break statement, then it will execute the else block. Lastly, we have the nested loops. Nested loops means that using a loop inside another loop, and it's quite helpful because you can draw a multiplication table, you can draw some patterns using it. So it's quite helpful for programming. And with this we have come to an end. You can use certain other examples, like maybe you can list some numbers and then calculate whether it's an odd or even. If it's an odd, then let's say you can sum it up, and if it's an even, you can just multiply it. You can you can check whether a word is a palindrome word or not. You can do various tasks using a loop, and it's quite helpful for everyday programming. So if you like this video, then hit the like button, and if you're new to my channel, hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon so you never miss an update, and I'll see you next time.